Hey, what's going on, guys? Sorry for the time change here. I have to take a meeting at 11, so I need to start a little early. If you don't, if you're not here live, then just catch this on the replay. So let's go ahead and get started. Um, one sec. All right, let's start with Jennifer's question. Jennifer asked me, I'm curious about your strategy with branding, marketing, and systems that you have in place. How do you source talent, and what type of systems processes do you have to keep information and share it with? Right before that, she asked, well, just let me give you some background because she asked another question. She basically told me what her business was. She owns a nanny and private household staffing agency. It's kind of similar in a sense. So let me kind of go one by one here. So your first is, I'm curious about the strategy with branding. Our strategy with branding, basically, we do something a little bit different because, well, let me start with marketing. We don't do too much marketing. We're a staffing agency, just like you, so we do a lot of direct sales. So we're constantly, we have a lot of outside sales guys that we're constantly contacting clients. Within our industry, we don't do too much actual like marketing, like social media or traditional media like television or anything like that. As far as branding, we had our corporate logo, we have our company culture. What we like to do is we like to share our company culture with our public and with our clients a lot more because we want them to see the organization and who is working for them. Also, we do have a slew of awards from the time that we started. We utilize that too. So what we try to do from a branding standpoint is we want to show how competent and compliant we are and what kind of culture we are because we're the ones going to be supporting you. When it's a business-to-business transaction, we're supporting you. So hopefully that makes sense. But let me kind of tweak that because I'm talking about my industry and you're actually asking about yours. It looks like you have a nanny and private household staffing agency. So it looks like what you're doing is you're not doing a business-to-business sale, you're doing a business-to-consumer. So this is where it's going to be a lot more important that you use your brand strategy and your marketing strategy because you're actually selling to a consumer, right? So you're selling to someone that needs childcare or someone that needs help with the house. So that's a lot different. And when you're selling to a private individual or a consumer, the scrutiny is going to be much higher, right? So as far as branding, I'm not an expert in this. I know Sean and Peter are really good at this. What I would suggest, and this is just kind of one-off, is what I would suggest is that you really take into account, and there's going to be a lot of like company culture questions here, and it will feed into this. You really wanted to take into account what your values are and what you're really doing. So why is your service going to be different than anyone else, or how is it going to solve a problem in the consumer that you're looking for, right? Because that's really why we're buying things, right? Because there's pain points. Like as a consumer, something like, let's say I need a nanny, right? And I need a really good nanny, and I need someone that has been thoroughly vetted out, and that's their background checks are up to date, and they're not criminals or anything. You need to present that because you need to understand why you're different, why your services are different, and it needs to address the pain point that the consumer is having. So that needs to all be branded into your company. As far as marketing, with this type of service, again, marketing is not my forte. But how I would go about this is I do a lot of social media marketing for this one because I mean you're targeting individuals, you're targeting people that need nannies, and you're targeting people that needs private household help, right? So generally a consumer is not going specific on a website to look at that. If you're utilizing the ads on Facebook just because they're scrolling down, that might be a good opportunity for you. Okay, so now you're asking about systems. Okay, so this is where I'm an expert at, right? Systems when it comes to talent, when it comes to HR, when it comes to anything regards people in the workplace. For specifically staffing agencies, we use a system called an ATS, which is an applicant tracking system. Basically what it is, it's every candidate or every applicant that comes into the system, we hold that whole entire database. For sales, you can kind of parallel it to like a CRM or a customer relationship management tool like a Salesforce. it keeps all the informations there, right? So basically what this ATS system does is when someone applies, right, I'll kind of go from soup to nuts here. So let's say you're posting on monster.com or careerbuilder.com or using ZipRecruiter or any of the thousands and thousands of job boards that are out there. Your ATS system will integrate and could integrate. I'm not going to say they all integrate because there's additional fees when that happens, but ours integrates with all those job boards. So basically when we post a job posting or a job listing, we post it once in our ATS system, we push one button, and it automatically feeds out to all the different job boards. So it makes it a lot easier. And where it makes it much more efficient is if, let's say, someone applies on ZipRecruiter or someone replies on LinkedIn or someone replies on CareerBuilder or what have you, it comes directly into our system. And what's really important from a data standpoint is it shows where it's coming from, right? And that's important because you need to understand where the actual applicant or candidate is coming from, so you know what kind of traction you're getting for all the different systems that you're using, or for all the different job boards you're using, or all the tools that you're using. And why that's important is because you want to know how much funds you're allocating to something, right? I think what we do is we blindly say, okay, well, this particular thing works, maybe, I don't know for sure, and we don't exactly know how well it's working or if it's working at all, but we keep on pouring money into it, right? So let's say, and again, here's the reason. Let's say I'm using 5 different job boards to source my candidates, right? And you don't have any kind of way of tracking any of that success. So you constantly spend money on, let's say, Monster that is actually pulling through or actually successfully filling maybe 5% of all the jobs that you have open, but ZipRecruiter is doing 90%. So obviously, if you have that discrepancy, you need to know where you're getting the most success from the systems are. So you're going to plug more money into that particular system and back off something else, right? So that's why it's important to us. So that's just from the very beginning. That's why it's important, is because one, we can post the job listing or the job request. It goes to all the different job boards, and then what happens is when it comes to feeds in, it goes into one system, and we know where the traffic is coming from. So it doesn't stop there. You basically, that system will actually track it from interview to screening to process to onboarding to all the different paperwork to the background checks to everything, right? And if you get a really robust system, you can even carry it from just the initial hire portion to the actual HR systems, which then tracks their performance. And if they have any issues with disciplinary, or they track their benefits or what have you, and it can be all in one system. I'm not sure that you're there yet, but just understand that the systems that you build in your company right now, because I know all of you guys are Aspire entrepreneurs and you guys have businesses that will, if you stay in this tribe and you utilize us mentors, I'm guaranteeing you, your business will continue to grow and grow. And you also have to have a system that will grow with your company, right? So that's why you have to do it right now. But as far as that, we use something called Jazz HR, and why we like that is it's web-based, and it doesn't charge for each individual user. So that's important. When you're checking a system, there's much more robust systems out there, but sometimes your user fees, there's individual user fees. It doesn't all encompass, let's say you have 50 individuals working at your company using this ATS system, they all require a license, right? So why we did that is we wanted something cloud-based, so we can access it from our phones, we can access it from our laptop, we can access it from one of Sean's old Uniguest systems in a hotel room if we don't have a computer. We wanted to make sure that we had access to it no matter if we didn't have a phone or we didn't have our computer with us or what have you. We didn't want it basically internal. And that we didn't want a lot of cost, because as we add users, we didn't want individual user licenses. So we have a package that all encompasses everything. So again, we use Jazz HR for that ATS system. So in our line of work, because we're staffing, it is absolutely critical to have a system that will track all your applicants. And again, another benefit of that is that you're not spinning, with staffing or with recruiting, we're constantly getting positions that we need to fill. And a lot of those times we've worked on those kinds of positions before, especially if you're doing nannies or private households, because you're very narrow in your segment, right? So like when you have a new order or when you have a new job that you need to work on, we're constantly going back to this well to look new applicants, right? Because you have this database that you've already accumulated over time. So hopefully that makes sense to you as far as the systems and what we should be using. So yeah, check that out. Send me you left a message on this event board. So if you have any more like detailed questions, I definitely can do that for you. But check into an ATS system. Again, I use Jazz HR. I think it's fantastic. I don't know where how much complexity that you need, or how much reporting, or how much data, or how much scalability you need, but I find it pretty good. And it integrates with pretty much every one of my systems. From like what's important is that, and I think this is going to be important for you too, is that my system, once they're hired on, I can push a button and we'll start their background check already. So like, and it's all integrated from there. And once the background check and I onboard them, the payroll system is in the same thing. So they integrate with each other. So they integrate with my ERP package that I have, so which is basically my accounting system. So because payroll and your person they're kind of the same thing. So you know, their time cards and everything, they're all electronic. It integrates with my accounting system. So how that works is that if a hiring manager, or if the manager approves, so the employee has a digital time card automatically goes to the manager. Manager approves the time card. It goes into our accounting system, our payroll system. Our payroll sends it out, and then it all stores into that one system. So makes it a lot easier, right? Okay. Let's go on to Edward. Edward says, "Hi, Paul. Thank you for making yourself available for this mentor session." Absolutely. I love doing this stuff, and I love helping you guys out. If I'm looking for a new staff, should I seek new employees by using my network first, or should I advertise for a position at the same time? So far, I've found all my staff through networking. Okay, good question. I would say to do a combination of both, right? There's no harm or foul to put your position listed on LinkedIn or Monster.com or ZipRecruiter or whatever it is, right? And what I'm basically stating, you've heard me say ZipRecruiter, you've heard me say LinkedIn, you've heard me say Career Builder, you've heard me say Monster.com. Those are basically job boards, right? They're ads. Or Indeed. Indeed's another one, right? They all function in a way that when people get online, they search a particular job, and then these jobs pop up and they apply to it. So it's kind of like marketing for the jobs, right? So those job boards, that's kind of what it is, if you're not familiar with that. So I would do a combination of both. I would use your network. And here's the truth, right? The most successful hires for any company are employee referrals, or referrals in general, right? Because someone's actually vouching for them. I don't think companies do a great job at utilizing that particular vehicle, especially big companies. I think companies have an incredible resource within their own company to get referrals for really good employees, and I don't think they're doing a good enough job doing that, right? And as your company grows, I think you should really make sure that you implement a employee referral incentive and a strategy as you guys grow and as you bring more people, because studies have shown over and over again that the most successful employees are the ones that have been referred by another employee or somebody that is like a colleague. So when I say use your network first, that's a really you can do a combination of both, but your network and who you know is really where the gold is when you're looking for employees, right? However, as you scale, you can only have so much network to find all the employees. So right now, if you're not too big, I would utilize your networks. Go out there and try to find people, ask around, and I would also post, because you never know who you're gonna find off of a post or who applies to your job, right? Okay, let's see. I've worked at many different companies in the past, and I've never recognized any company culture apart from turn up, do work, get paid, go home. That sucks. Admittedly, I don't have any purposeful design company culture at this stage. How do I present something that employees actually care about and engage with? Do there need to be incentives, extra perks, roles? A lot of people I know are only in jobs to get paid and don't care much about the company, mission, etc. Okay, that's exactly why it's important. You kind of said it right there. You have people that are coming to a company, they're coming there for a paycheck, and they don't really give a shit about anything else, right? So let me ask you this. If you had a company, if this was your company, and most of your employees came in there, they just got a paycheck, and they don't give a shit about anything else, how well do you think they would perform, right? And there's more company culture questions here, so I'm going to maybe repeat these a few times. But this is exactly why company culture is incredibly important. First of all, company culture is the personality of the company. It's the beliefs, the values, and the mission statement, what they're all about, right? Let's kind of take to an example like let's say I was single, right? And I'm dating. There's a certain aspect that I want in a spouse, right? There's certain things that I'm looking for in a lifelong partner. Right? And if I can't define those, I'm just going to choose any particular partner, and it's going to make it worse for me while I'm in the marriage, right? If I'm just haphazardly just thinking, well, I don't know what I want. She looks good. I think that's okay. Let's get married. And now you're in this relationship, and she's nothing that you wanted because you never defined what you wanted to begin with, right? So one of the biggest things that is incredibly important in company culture is you define who's going to be working in your company, right? So when you're posting a job, we have to understand that skills are one particular aspect of posting a job and hiring somebody, right? But if that person has the skills that you're looking for, they have the background that you're looking for, the education that you're looking for, but they're as dull as a doorknob, then how fun or how creative is that work environment going to be? And even more so, as your company grows, how is that one individual going to act with everybody else, right? So that's why it's important, right? So the people that you want on your team is really, really important. And you have to define those types of people, those types of personalities, their ethics and their beliefs within a culture, right? So that's a culture that you're making up, right? Just like a football team or like a basketball team or a hockey team. What kind of team do you want to be coaching? What kind of team do you want to be leading? That's really important from a company culture standpoint. Another thing, if you're an entrepreneur and you don't have a company culture that defines your values, your missions, what your goals are, and then you bring people in and they have no idea what your values, your mission, your goal, or anything like that is, how successful do you think you're going to be? If none of your employees know your culture, your mission, your values, what you guys stand for, where you're headed, and they're just there for a paycheck. That's why company culture is important, because you're defining those things. You're defining you're defining who you want on your team. What is the personality of your company? What is a work ethic? What are the goals and hopes and aspirations that you have for your company? And could people come in and buy into that and line up towards your vision and your dreams and your goals? And if they can't and they're just there for a paycheck, chances are, especially if you're at the very early stages of your business, if they can't line up with your business and you're just paying them for the sake of paying them, the business will struggle, right? Because they can't get behind you. And what you're doing is you're just basically pulling an anchor that's doing work for you. I mean, and it's so hard, especially at the early stages of your business. If you're bringing on people at the early stages of your business, they better be completely bought into your vision of what you were trying to do. And you can only do that by establishing a company culture, okay? So that's the importance of that. What you said there is that just where you don't have any colleagues or friends or anybody that really understand what their mission statement is. It just drives like a stake in my heart, because I'm like, then how are you running a business that's even successful? Even more importantly, how are you running a business that you can contribute back to the employee? Because you don't even know their goals. You're just giving them money. And here's the thing. People don't leave jobs or look for other positions because of the lack of money. They leave it because of the lack of input and the lack of impact that they're making in the company, or the lack of progression that they have in the company. Not because of money, right? If they're going there for money, those are like absolutely C-D players, right? They don't care about anything else. They just want to. It's basically like a zoo animal. You throw them some food, they're going to eat it, and then that's all they're going to do all day. That's not the kind of employees that you want in your business. Let's see. What are some of the cheapest and most effective team building exercises you know of or have experienced? I've never worked at a company who has run a team building exercise before, but I've seen a few examples, and they're quite often cringeworthy exercises that they might only bring staff together for one day, but become meaningless after that. Okay. Here's the cheapest way. Here's probably the best way, especially if you've never done it before. Just go out to happy hour after, right? Because what happens is if you don't get into a relationship with your employees, if you don't get into a relationship with your team, let's just say team, right? I think some of you guys are still working. Let's say you're a manager and you have a team, right? If you don't get into a relationship with your team or the people that you supervise or the people that you manage, how do they even trust you, right? The more relationship, I mean, like, the truth of the matter is, let's just kind of just take it from a very basic, example, right? You have a certain amount of friends that you might have grown up with, right? Like you're in grade school with them and you have a group of friends that you grew up with, and over time that they prove to you that they're good friends and they're there for you and they're your ride or dies or whatever it is, right? Chances are you're going to do whatever they can. Like if they need your help, if they say, hey, you know what, Paul, I need help moving, or my mom is sick and I need someone to talk to, the chances are you're going to be able to help them and talk to them, right? Because you want to, right? Because you've been in that relationship with them. Now, it's the same thing with it, and here's what bugs me, right? It's the same thing with companies and teams and organizations, right? If you can't get into relation, and the problem is we think that it's different, right? Well, the truth is companies, inside a company, in a work environment and a personal environment, they have two things in common. People, right? You don't automatically change who you are when you get home and then when you get to work. You carry the same habits and beliefs and ethics and everything with you, so you don't change. At the same time, it's people. So people are always going to pretty much stay homeostatic the whole entire way, right? So what we do is we forget that, hey, you know what? We're dealing with people, then we have to be under this veil of professionalism, which in some cases true, but you don't want to take away the humanity out of them either. So why I'm saying that is it's super important to get into a relationship with them. So the cheapest way is to say, hey, you guys want to go to happy hour? You guys want to have a lunch? You guys want to just talk about what's going on with your weekend? That's the most simple way, right? Because what happens is, if you don't establish that relationship or you don't establish that connection or trust within a team, and then all of a sudden you throw in a cringe-worthy exercise just because you're like, okay, well, some organizational development guy said, hey, you guys should throw in a team buildership or team trust exercise that's going to take the whole day, and they don't know each other. I mean, the impact of that sucks, because like, you're expecting them to get into a relationship, drop all their apprehensions and their walls and all their mistrust, and like the fact that, and maybe it's not even mistrust, maybe they just feel kind of awkward doing these situations because these exercises, because they don't know you, right? So none of those ever work if you don't have the foundation of trust and relationship underneath that. Let me say that again. There's no team building exercise out there that will work if there's no establishment of trust and relationship first. Right? So that's what you need to do first. So the cheapest way to do it, go out to lunch, right? Go out to lunch with all of them. I would suggest go out to lunch individually with them, right? Because you have a little bit more one-on-one time. Or go out to happy hour with them. Go out, invite them to a ball game. It's just like inviting a friend out. It's as simple as that, right? And I don't think there should be a differentiation between that. And once you get to know them, then bring them all together and then take them all out to lunch. And then do those stupid cringeworthy exercises, because I guarantee you have much more impact at that particular point, because you, again, have the trust and the relationship built underneath those kinds of things, right? I think you asked something about incentives. No, you don't need to give them any incentives. Oh, that's for your company culture. Again, let me just reiterate, company culture is not about incentives or anything like that. It's about what the personality, it's what is the personality of the company, and what are your beliefs, your visions, your goals, your values, things like that. Okay. Marilisa, hi, I have a small cosmetics factory. There are 7 employees. 3 of them are in the administrative area and 4 are in the factory. We all get along very well. There's a good working atmosphere, but I never arrange meetings or make any other activities to integrate them. Everybody knows their part and responsibilities, and also help each other. I've always worked with everyone individually. Are meetings with all the employees necessary? If so, how they start? It depends, right? I can't give you a concrete answer on that. It depends on what your company goals are. If you want to stay the way you are right now and everything's working, well, do you really need to change it? Probably not. If it's doing fantastic, then no, don't change it. I wouldn't change anything that's working, you know. Is it beneficial to get people together? Sure. I would do it as a social environment, you know, so they can kind of get to know each other, you know, together collectively under a structure or an organized event that you've created. But if they're doing that already, then not really. Now, so again, if your business is running the way you want it to run, if you're not looking to grow or what have you, you're probably, you know, you're obviously doing something that's working, and I would stick to that. Now, if you're looking to scale, grow, and become a larger company, then yes, I think starting to get people together. You don't have to do all of the whole entire team. You said 3 of them are in the administrative area, 4 in the factory. You can do it individually, where the administrative team gets together and we just kind of start working on goals and start giving them your forecast of what you want to create, and also with the factory workers, right? You know, as companies get big, they do something called an all hands, and basically it's an annual, like, you know, update of the company, where they stand right now and where some of their new products and features. I mean, if you ever watch Apple, they do that. They do it every product release, and they do it every year, right? So, hopefully that answered your question. Short answer is it's beneficial, regardless of if you want to stay the way you are or if you're gonna grow. It's beneficial. I mean, there's no harm in it, right? You know, I think maybe what you can do is you can bring them lunch. I mean, as simple as that. Bring them all lunch one day and say, this is my appreciation for your hard work, right? Because everybody wants to get it. Everybody wants recognition and appreciation, right? Well, I don't know if everyone wants recognition, but they surely want to be appreciated. So you can do that. Like, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just bring in a lunch. Just say, hey guys, today I'm bringing you guys a lunch, and I just wanted to thank you for all your hard work and the efforts that you've made. And then let them organically mingle, you know? So it's gonna be as simple as that. Okay. Next question is Nicole. Okay, she says, hi, Paul. Your specialties, entrepreneurial mindset and company culture, are two areas I could address. Mindset. While I'm getting better at this, do you have any tips thinking bigger? I say I want 7 figures, and I do. I have no idea how to envision what that could be or should look like. As such, it makes it hard to set the goals to get there. So Nicole's having, so basically what I'm reading, Nicole, is that you're having trouble thinking bigger, and you want 7 figures. How about, that's kind of easy. Have you ever listened to the Nike logo? It just says, just do it, right? Well, just think bigger and think about 7 figures, right? There's no complications of that. You know, the first step to anything is like, have the goal and put that goal in your mind, right? I want to create a 7-figure business. I want to create a multiple 7-figure business. The problem is that we're constantly looking for the mechanics and the know-how to do things before we actually instill the belief, right? So a lot of times the biggest obstacle is not necessarily the mechanics or how we should be doing this. It's the belief that we can't, right? Because the minute that we have the belief that we can do something is when we start looking at solutions, right? Because right now your mindset is looking at the problem. Like just that short sentence, you're like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to envision this. I don't know how to do. Well, let's just look at that, right? You're already creating obstacles, And really what it is just to say, I believe in having a 7-figure business. That's it, right? Once you've instilled that belief, and once you actually can believe that, then everything starts to fall into place. Let me say that again. The hardest thing to achieving a goal is actually believing that we can, right? The minute that we believe that we can achieve that goal wholeheartedly with everything that we are, then solutions will start falling in line. And the reason why is subconsciously what we start to do is we start to look for the solutions versus the excuses. You guys have to understand that with every solution, with every problem that you have, there's a solution for it. We just need to know where we're going to put our energy in, right? So with every problem that we have, there is a solution for it. We need to put our energy into those solutions, but it starts with that belief, right? So again, just do it. Just think bigger. Just say, hey, my business is going to be a 7-figure business. When I started my business in my garage by myself, 2 fake email accounts and myself, I don't know how I was going to do anything. I didn't know how I was going to pay my employees. I didn't know how I was going to pay for my resources. I don't know, right? And a lot of the times it's like we don't know. Gary Vee said this really, really cool quote, right? It says, when you're an entrepreneur, really what you should be called is a firefighter, right? Because what we're doing is we're constantly putting out fires, coming up with solutions and trying to figure things out. And if you can't figure things out, right? And you can't create solutions out of nowhere, then solutions, coming up with a solution is easy, but executing on that solution and being able to fail and learn from the solution and then do it again and then succeed is where you're going to get the most benefit, right? So that's where you got to just train your mind and go that different direction with it, right? So just the belief needs to be there first. Okay. Culture. So Nicole asked, culture. Right now, I'm a one-woman shop. Be good to establish culture before I start hiring a team. What exactly is culture in respect to business? Feel free to answer this metaphorically or how store. Okay, why don't we do this? Let's let me just Google it really quick. What exactly company culture is? Okay, I'll just read it to you, right? Because it has a really great definition. Organization or company culture encompasses values, behaviors that contribute to a unique social, psychological environment within a business. The organizational culture influences the way people interact, the context within which knowledge is created, the resistance they have towards certain changes, and ultimately the way they share or the way they do not share knowledge. Organizational culture represents, and this is what I talked about before, this is a big one, organizational culture represents the collective values, beliefs, and principles of the organizational members. That's what company culture is. Cool. Okay. Next question is by Nancy. Nancy says, hi, Paul. My goal is to sell 7,900 jewelry orders by the end of 2020. The average per month is 655 orders. Okay, so that's not what you're doing right now. That's just if you take 7,900 divided by 12, it's 655, right? I'm starting the business, so I'm just starting the business, so it's a long way to go. Okay, so you just start the business, you're not fulfilling those kind of order volumes yet. It's not possible to sell 655 the first month, so my question is, how should I plan to order goals? And so I read your question once. I'm assuming the question here is how do you plan your goals, your sales goals per month, right? Because when I read that, I first had to figure out, is that you're ordering your materials in response to what you're going to sell? But it looks like what you're trying to do here is you're trying to establish a monthly sales goal, right? Okay. So I just wanted to make sure that that's it. If it's not, comment on the questions. If it's really about how do you order supplies at a certain given time, that's completely different, right? In order to hit your goals. So if I got it wrong, then just message, type of comment on your question. How should I plan my order goals? Maybe in a cumulative way, having most of the sales at the end of the year. which can happen since it's a holiday season. So that's when you're already kind of planning for seasonality. You know, there's spikes in like retail where there's seasonality spikes where, you know, like Mother's Day, Father's Day, what have you, depending on summer, depending on you know, the time of year, you have seasonality spikes. And, you know, just kind of answer that, just to add to that question. If you're in a retail space, you know, like we have 2 tribe members that have a really successful bridal a bridal company, and I'm sure they spike during you know, the bridal season, right? So they have to plan accordingly, you know, to make sure that they have enough supply when the demand hits, right? So just to kind of summarize this question, you basically want to sell 7,900 pieces of jewelry every year, right? And you're trying to figure out how to break that down on a monthly sales goal, right? One second, I just looked at an email that popped up here. Here's what I would do. It looks like you just started the business, so you don't have year-over-year actuals or actual sales data year-over-year to actually benchmark and forecast for the future, right? So it gets a little bit more tricky because right now you're just kind of pulling things out of the air, right? So my first thing is if 7,900 jewelry orders by the end of 2012 is your goal, let's keep it there. But as far as timing and what you should put on a monthly basis, let's keep that flexible, right? Because you're going to have a ramp up time. If you just started, you have to kind of take in consideration, where's your foundation right now? Have you started a website? How are you marketing these things? Are you going to, do you have a retail storefront, you know, an actual like physical storefront that you're selling these are? What are your channels that you're selling? So we got to kind of look at, like, you know, how you're going to get these out, right? So if you're starting from ground zero, it's really, we don't know what it's going to look like. Your goal is just to sell 7,900 pieces. And even that, we have to understand, okay, why do you want to sell 7,900 pieces? Is because you need to break even from the amount of inventory that you have. You know, we have to understand why. Like, is 7,900 a realistic goal based on your capacity right now? And when I'm talking about capacity is your inventory, your cash reserves, how you deliver, the ability to supply those things, your jewelry. Those are the kinds of things, right? So if 7,900 as a goal is just, again, another, you know, in the air, trying to figure, it sounds like a nice thing, we have to examine that too, right? So, you know, when we're starting a business, there has to be a little bit of data involved and really understanding why we're setting those kinds of goals. And I think that's where it becomes problematic sometimes, is because we don't really examine why we do things. We just say, okay, well, that number sounds kind of cool, and let's just kind of go for that, right? And it's not a really thought out process. So first of all, just kind of look at your goal and ask yourself, why 7,900, right? And if 7,900 is a legitimate thing for you, do you have capacity to deliver, right? Because you might have the demand, but do you have the capacity to deliver? So with that being said, I would be pretty flexible on what you're going to establish your monthly sales goals on. I would maybe back it down and do it maybe quarterly, do a quarterly sales goal, or do a bi-yearly sales goal, right? So you can kind of track what you're doing, right? And then, so like, you know, obviously the first 6 months is probably going to be a lot slower until you have, you know, what we call operational efficiency, and you have all your systems running and everything is working well. And then once you're at an optimized pace, then you can start to increase sales goal because you've already kind of followed that hockey stick of the learning curve and then setup curve, you know? So again, the reason why I'm getting a little complicated in this, I guess, is the reason why I'm doing this is because I want you guys to think. So when you guys ask these questions, it's not just like a simple question that you ask. Why did you ask that question? What's going on with it? Is there complexity around it? And how do we actually have to think? Because there's multiple layers within a question, and you've got to really dive deep and say, I mean, even that order, 7,900, why? Why is it? Can I deliver? So again, to answer this basic question, how I would do that is, because you're just starting off, if 7,900 is a hard goal, leave it as a hard goal. But I would be a little bit looser on your monthly sales goals, and then change it to maybe quarterly or maybe bi-yearly, and then you can kind of flex from there. Right? Okay. Hopefully that helps. I got one more question that just popped up here, I think. This is for Maria. At the moment, we're hiring contractors only. In the foreseeable future, we will hire employees. However, with all the labor board lawsuits, we're okay in California, that makes a whole ton of sense. However, with all the labor board lawsuits we are abundantly experiencing in California, California is definitely problematic when it comes to business. So if you're not in California, congratulations. If you are, then make sure you have a good team that's backing you up with all this stuff. Would you help us with some advice on how to add some questions we can add to our hiring process that may red flag some concerns, so we can try to vet out people with less foreseeable liability? Background: we are NMCO financial services firm in Las Vegas, Nevada, but have a strong presence in California. Okay, so you're multi-state here. Maria, could you give me a little bit more detail on that? Either through, you can direct message me or put it on my board, or tag me in the board if it's okay for everyone to see. I don't want to get into I don't want to answer these questions publicly if it's if some of these questions that you're asking is a private matter, right? Because I'm just trying to figure out what's causing the lawsuits, what's happening. What's it revolving? What issues are it revolving, right? And I don't want to publicly ask it here if it's a discrimination issue, if it's a sexual harassment issue, or whatever it is, right? So that's kind of why don't you message me so we can have a little bit more detailed conversation about that. Other than that, that's it. Hey guys, I really enjoyed your questions. And being here with you guys. So other than that, actually, I got to go pretty soon. So I will be going on live in the next 2 weeks to a month. Again, my specialty is company culture. It's HR, it's talent acquisition, it's team building, and things like that. Pretty much all the really, really important things within a company. Again, you're not going to have a great company without great people working for you. So that's what I do. If you have anything else, feel free to message me, and we will talk soon. Have a fantastic and productive day, guys. Bye.